talk about where do you fit in this space. It's not just selling insurance, but this is your career, this is your business. And so to really figure out where you fit, because there's lots of different types of IMOs and agencies that you can go to depending on what makes the most sense for you. And I think I'm really excited to talk about that because it's not just one size fits all in this business. And is it really for you?
Yeah, it's interesting because insurance is a field that everybody lumps into one thing, which is everybody just says, "Oh, I do." Yeah, like, do you do insurance, or we should
Right.
do insurance? And it's like, well, Medicare operates significantly different than life insurance, or even just you could be selling final expense, which is something we both have experience in, being captive or a broker,
Right.
and they're going to be significantly different for you as the agent, depending on which one you're in. Because ultimately, when you look at sales, I have teams in multiple industries. And so the key to sales is looking at the commission plan and realizing it's all just a game, right? It's a game, and the commission plan is going to tell you what game you're playing, right? And you have to learn to gamify that to maximize what your return is.
I saw a Facebook post the other day that kind of made me laugh and think about this. Very often you'll see people that'll say, what's better, being captive or being a broker? And you'll have 100 different people answering 100 different ways. And I recently responded to that saying that there are incredibly successful people in both models.
Yep.
I've done both models now. Both models work. There is
Yep.
one that's better than the other. It is what are you going to do with that opportunity to maximize it? Because you can make multiple six figures and seven figures in both captive and
Yeah.
broker, right? I mean, I fully believe that. I do not think
Yeah.
one is better than the other. I think it's who's in the driver's seat, who's the agent that's going to determine their own success.
Yeah, I love the way you put that. It's they're both really good opportunities, and it's more about you. And I think the hard part about that, and most of us know ourselves pretty well, right? That's why we get into insurance is we know that we want more. We want the freedom, right? We want to progress, but it's figuring out which vehicle do I want to drive, right? And the tough thing about that is when you're looking at the vehicles, it's tough to kind of see all of the ins and outs of them. And it makes it hard to choose and hard to know which one's for which. And so we'll cover that right at the end. That's the last piece that we have here for you guys is really depending on who you are, what is going to be a better fit. Because it's funny because Dana and I were talking about this. It was kind of unrelated to the webinar, but we were chatting about how I think insurance is a great opportunity that gets a bad rap sometimes, right? We've all heard people that kind of talk down on insurance or they don't want to do insurance that, is this an MLM? Is this a pyramid scheme?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's not, but it's very, similar shaped. Um, very, very similar shaped at least. And it's like, it's really just a matter of expectations, right? If your expectations are wrong from the beginning, you're bound to end up upset at the end. And a lot of times it's not your fault that your expectations are wrong. You were just told the wrong thing by the person that maybe was recruiting you, or maybe you heard something online. And so like, is that your fault? No, but it's still your responsibility to solve the problem.
Exactly. Yep.
And
I
so
have.
let's kick it off and dive into some of the value before we end up going way over time.
You're right.
Because I know I can't go significantly over time today, and I doubt you can either.
Yeah.
So why don't we just do a quick little intro?
Bro.
Let's hear a little bit about Dana. How did we end up here?
Okay. Well, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. And if you were invited by Cayden and I'm just meeting you for the first time, I have been in telesales since 2004.
Oh, gee.
OMG. So 21 years. I have only ever done telesales. I've only ever sold three products. Life insurance since 2020. And I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. I actually love this business. It's actually amazing to me how much opportunity there is in this space for everybody no matter what agency or IMO that you're with. I built up a free lead, reduced commission call center at a captive agency for my first 4.5 years. We did $5 million in production at the end of 2024. And then in January, I started over and have just now been building a new agency called Empower Life Group as a broker. So now I'm here and we just wrote over 300,000 last month as a new agency. So
Let's
that's been
go. Nothing wrong with starting over. I've started over a couple of times. I've always found that interesting about insurance. It's almost like people, uh, like insurance, you get into insurance and they act like you should be okay with an arranged marriage, where it's like
neat.
you don't know very much about the company, but because you started with them, you should stay with them forever. I'm like, come on, we're dating. Like I'm trying to figure out the right vehicle, which is how we landed with you, right?
That's right. People know
What
that.
yeah, we went a few different places, and ultimately now we partnered with Dana and Empower Life Group to bring Sniper Insurance there. And so, for those of you guys that are meeting me through Dana, maybe you got the invite from Dana, you have no idea who I am. Dana and I met through, we both trained with Jeremy Miner. And so that's how our paths crossed, and we both did well. And that's kind of the first time our paths crossed. I got into sales. I'm not as original as Dana. I haven't been doing it for 20
Not the
years.
OG.
I'm not the OG. I'm the new kid on the block. I got into sales in the beginning of 2020. I just stumbled into it. Unlike probably everybody on this call, I didn't plan to be in sales when I was a kid, um, like everybody does. And so I just stumbled into it because I wanted to make more money. And I absolutely sucked, which is why I got into Jeremy's program and ended up doing pretty well and have been able to take different opportunities, both in insurance and out of insurance. I've ran good teams in insurance. I've built multiple teams up fairly quickly before I decided that I didn't want to date those people anymore, or those IMOs. I won't say the IMOs names because I'm not a big fan of being sued. Um, but left a few IMOs because I didn't necessarily like the vehicle. Uh, and I will talk more about that at the end, but I do think this is important. One of the things that really got me to start looking at insurance different is I had a mentor outside of insurance. It was actually somebody that did insurance a long time ago, and his name's Rudy Sanchez. He's built multiple businesses, and I currently work with him in Committed Coaches. And the last IMO that I left, he was the catalyst that got me to leave the IMO because he said something that will forever ring true to me. And for any of you guys that are recruiting and building your own team, I think this is really helpful. But what he said was, I wanted to get wealthy, but I didn't want to get wealthy on other people's failures. And I thought it was really, really powerful. And ultimately,
It always gives me chills, Cayden.
it gave me chills too, especially when I realized, oh shit, I'm doing that. May not on purpose, but it happens, right? Sometimes in this industry. And so ultimately, I stepped out of that one, and now we're partnered. And so it's been a fun journey. But everything that we'll go over today, at least on my side, is stuff that I've learned from other people. I would like to say that I pioneered all of this and put it all together on my own, but really it's just stuff that I've learned from other people and tailored to our industry. People like Jeremy Miner, Chase Hughes, Jordan Belfort, Cole Gordon, Eli Wild. I've had a good opportunity to train with those people and go through a lot of their courses and learn a lot. And my understanding is that you've trained quite a bit as well.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting is I have focused, even though I do a lot of sales training, what I'm also hoping to bring to this workshop and to you guys today is I spend a lot of my now additional training on communication skills.
Yep.
And I think that having strong communication skills translates seamlessly into sales because you really can't sell without properly being able to communicate. And part of communicating is also listening and asking good questions. And so I think that focusing like just on sales training and sales training only, there's a catalyst between communication and sales training. So a lot of the work I've done in the past few years has been specifically on improving communication skills.
Yeah, well, and that's what we're really doing as salespeople, right? Is communicating. Um, we're just communicating in a sophisticated way to help improve our outcome at the end, right? But
Right.
it's really just a series of communication, a series of more likelies that we try to set ourselves up at the end for the best result that we're looking for. And so when it comes to insurance specifically, how do we make more money? Right? How do we make more money? And just as a whole, when we look at like problem solving and making more money, if we, what do the best people do? Right? They don't try to reinvent the wheel. They look at other more successful people around them, usually their mentors, right? And nowadays, since we have the internet, you could have mentors that you don't even know, or they don't know you, right? Because you have the internet. And so, what do we know the most successful people do? They look at other people, right, that are further ahead than them and say, what are they doing? And so,
Yeah.
how do we make more money? To put it more simply, we need to look at the whole picture, right? And when it comes down to making more money, we essentially just need to find the smallest lever that's the easiest to pull that creates the biggest trickle effect, right? And so when we're looking for that lever, it can be kind of cloudy to figure out in the beginning. I know I felt that way. It took me a really long time. I wish that I could say I learned this in like 6 months. Unfortunately, it probably took me a couple years to learn this, uh, because the big sexy thing that everybody wants to learn is how to get good at objection handling and presenting better, right? It just is, it's fun, right? It's fun. And we all get objections. And so we want to get really good at objection handling. The problem with that is that lever is usually a pretty big lever that's hard to pull, right? And I'm sure you see that all the time in your team, Dana, where, maybe somebody's presenting 3 to 5 times a day and they're closing one and they're like, okay, I need to get better at objection handling because I could close, I could double my money, right? And
Well,
it's,
what I see there is the lever in this example that you're describing is not how do you get better at closing more of the three. It's how to
yep,
create more of the three to create five. How do you
yep.
have more activity and create more conversations so you don't have to worry about increasing your close rate. You just keep your close rate the same by having more people to talk to.
Yeah, exactly. Which that lever's far, far easier because objection handling is quite difficult to get good at, right? And if we double our production in objection handling, okay, we close one more, right? But if we get better at the top of the funnel, right, and is just we get better at our intro so that we present to more people and we keep the same objection handling, we'll end up making far more money. Because if we're presenting to 4 times the people, we're going to get 4 times the closes.
Yes. And you'll learn a whole lot more in the meantime. You'll have a lot more activity, isn't just about making a lot of dials and making your fingers bleed. Like a lot of activity is to learn faster. The faster you learn, the higher your conversion rate will be because you're going to learn from a lot of the mistakes that you made. Or if you have a mentor that you can bring your sales calls to, or you listen to your own calls, you'll start to
Yep.
see patterns automatically. But if you're only making 50 dials a day or 60 dials a day and you don't have very many people to talk to, it's going to take you a significantly longer amount of time. And that's why a lot of people fizzle out in this business, from what I've seen, is they just
Yep.
don't have the activity.
Yeah. And if you don't have the activity, you better have fire marketing, right?
Which is
If
expensive.
it's expensive and usually fizzles out as well in this industry. It's just a commoditized industry. It is what it is. There, what I like to say is there are no good leads, right? In insurance, there are ones that are a little bit better, but they're all worried about how much it costs.
So what are you seeing is the some of the small actions that people can take that will yield the biggest return for them?
So focusing on the intro, right? Let's focus on the intro. The intro is going to be the place where you can get the most results for your efforts, right? Because if you're better at the intro, more people that pick up, you're going to have a higher conversation with them, right? And so I think the important things to notice with the intro is number one, it's not a one size fits all thing, right? It's not a competition of who has the best intro because your intro has to be tailored to the marketing that generated the lead.
True.
Depending on how the lead came to you, you have to tailor the mark your intro a little bit so that it makes sense because the marketing is going to create the expectations in your client, right? And that if there's something to write down, right? Miner calls them a writer downer. which I kind of hate, but we're going to use it. If there's something to write down there, that's it, right? You have to, the marketing is going to set the expectations that the client is expecting.
So are you saying that an age lead introduction should be different than a new lead introduction?
Ooh, I think it depends. Maybe a little bit. But in our industry, that's kind of a unique one because they usually keep filling out information. So
Exactly.
most of the time you can pretend like it's still a new lead and they're none the wiser. But it also depends on what type of product you're doing, right? Like if it's mortgage protection, for example,
Yes.
I would adjust it for aged because they probably didn't keep looking. But final expense all day. Right. That's all they do is look. So let's talk
Right.
about the intro. What do you use as your intro?
Our intro, or the one that I like to use, it's very basic, and I know there's different schools of thought for how to say someone's name. I mean, I think you could probably do a whole webinar just on that. Um, and I'm curious your thoughts. Do you go, "Hey, Cayden," or do you do the hey, Cayden? So do you end it with a question, or do you just assume that Cayden's on the phone?
Question, personally.
I do question too. I recently heard someone saying that they just act like it's the person and that they're old friends. So,
Yep.
hi, Cayden.
Hello? Yeah,
Hey,
this is
Cayden.
him.
Yeah, this is just Dana calling, and I was reaching out because I noticed you may have requested information on protecting your family from out-of-pocket funeral expenses. I just had a chance to get back to you to see if I could help. And
Okay.
that's pretty much my intro. It's very casual, it's very relaxed. I don't say I'm with a company. I don't technically know if that's legal or not, but I want to make it as familiar and as casual as possible. And the whole reason I do that is to buy myself another 30 seconds, create
Yep.
curiosity. Who's on the phone with me right now? Because your client, your prospect, they have all the control, really, while
Yep.
before you get permission to engage. And so anything that I can do to buy myself a little bit more time is going to help me gain more leverage so that I can transfer that control to me.
Yeah, 100%. And you said something really powerful there that I don't want to pass by, which is create curiosity.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a big mistake that I see in the intro, not even just in insurance, because I do have teams in other industries as well. And so one of the biggest mistakes that I see is that people are trying to sell them. Like the sales rep is trying to sell the prospect right in the beginning of the call. And it's like you're not trying to sell the prospect. All you're trying to do is create curiosity to get into the conversation.
Exactly. What does yours sound like?
And so I actually don't love to say financial protection for your family.
Okay.
Um,
Fair.
and so what I'll do, like ring ring.
Hello.
Hey Dana.
Yeah, who's this?
Yeah, hey Dana, this is just Cayden. I just had a second here to get back to you. It looks like you'd asked us to give you a call. You put in some info about possibly like looking at life insurance quotes. Were you looking for anything specific or just wanting to see what was out there?
Okay. Yeah. And so I love that intro, and I have bounced back and forth from life insurance to the financial protection. And
Yep.
like you said, going back to the marketing, I think both work. Uh,
Yep.
I think it's the confidence of who's delivering it. Because I think I could probably get away with both and have very similar results. But it's
Yes.
one that you, the agent, whatever you feel the most confident in delivering, and then commit to sticking to it 100 times,
Yep.
is the one that's going to work. Don't change it. Like, I'm going to try life insurance this time and then financial protection this time. Like, that would be a mistake.
Yeah. Why do you feel like that would be a mistake?
Well, because you won't have any like measurable results. You won't be able to like count 100. This is how many times I was able to get through. This is how many times it didn't
Yeah.
work. Be able to listen back
You
to
have
it
no data.
with your tonality, with your pausing, like with your inflection, like just in that little intro, there's so much work to do. But then if you go ahead and start to change what you're saying in addition to all the other higher level stuff, like you'll never feel confident or get it right.
Yeah, exactly. And so there has to be a process to learn the intro, right? So we're showing you guys kind of like a couple examples of the intros that we use. But Dana's 100% right. It's not just about the words that you use. The biggest thing that I could give anybody in my experience is that if you want to sell more, you need more certainty.
Yes.
Right. And if you're not very certain, if you feel very uncertain and you're nervous about the intro, they're going to pick up on that and you're not going to get as many people through. So you could use the same words that Dana's using or the same words that I'm using or the same words that whoever's using. And if you don't have the certainty, then it's not going to communicate. And so you have to learn how to get that certainty, right? And so like what we want to show you guys is not just how to do the intro, but how to learn it. What was it like for you to learn like how to do that, Dana? Because it's not like human nature is to get distracted like that and change it every time. So how do you keep yourself disciplined enough to like do it over and over and over so that you can get the data?
I think I have a little bit of an advantage because I have been in telesales for as long as I have. So I have that muscle memory and
Yeah.
I have previous experience to know that you just have to. So it was a non-negotiable for me in the beginning when I was trying to figure out what worked best. I think that's where it becomes cloudy because
Yes.
I didn't have a mentor for telesales. When I
Mhm.
started the telesales team, I was given a script that was used for field agents. So it was all about getting into the door. Um,
Okay.
and so to not have someone say, this is what works for me, this is how you should say it, I think that I had a huge disadvantage from that perspective. And that's when I was trying to like go to YouTube University and eventually landed on Jeremy Minor.
Yep.
And that's what kind of gave me the conviction to what I have now, like for me, the right introduction, because I feel very convicted in putting the outcome from the very first sentence. But
Yeah.
life insurance is more direct. Like I said, I can do both and
Yeah.
have the
So
same.
it's kind of like we said before, like finding somebody that has a little bit more like more perspective in that area,
Yes,
learning a little bit from them, but then tailoring it to what you're doing and making it fit you.
exactly. Yeah, because when I took Jeremy's course, it wasn't for life insurance.
No.
It was just a general sales course, but having that grid to follow really helped me feel more confident putting things in place. And so for us now to be able to teach that to agents, whether you're on
Yeah.
the team or not, hopefully it should give you that confidence that you need to implement because both Cayden and I have done this very successfully at a very high level. And now we're here, to teach it to you. So hopefully.
Should we let them hear your intro one more time?
Oh, I wish we had the chat. No
I
chat.
know. I know. No chat. We never figured it out.
Yeah, one
Uh,
more time. And then, one thing I want to say too is that that confidence and that calmness, you have to carry it into the inevitable, which is you're going to get sales resistance.
yep.
You're going to get sales resistance, even if the person that inquired have had every intent to get information because that's just how we're programmed. And so
Yep.
carrying that confidence and calmness from intro to handling the concern, those are both equally important front end and back end
I like how you called the objection the concern.
because that's what it is. It
It
is
is.
just a
It is just a
concern.
concern.
So why
Um,
don't you give me a little objection this time?
cool.
Maybe like I don't have time. I think that's the most common objection. And I want you to hear and kind of pay attention to how calm I sound. Like it's just no big deal.
Yep. Let's go for
Okay.
it.
Hi, Cayden.
Yes. Who is this?
Hey, Cayden. Yeah, this is just Dana calling. And I was reaching out because I noticed you may have requested some information on putting some protection in place for your family for out-of-pocket funeral expenses.
Oh, yes, I did. You called me right in the middle of something. Can you call me
Oh, you know
back
what?
later?
I totally get I caught you at a bad time. I guess, do you just have 1 minute right now to see if it even makes sense for me to call you back at a better time?
Um, yeah, what do you need?
Perfect. Now I'm going to go right into discovery. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this too. But I think that we are so programmed to get telemarketers off the phone by saying we don't have time, call me back later, and nobody ever challenges us. Like,
Yes.
I can't even tell you how many times I have decided to pick up the phone and say I can't have time. And I am at a 100% acceptance rate. Oh, yeah, no problem. We just call you back, 4 o'clock. And then I'm not going to pick up the phone at 4 o'clock because now oh, I know who that is. That's the person I said to call me back at 4 o'clock. I am not answering that.
Yeah, you didn't want them to call you back. You're just trying to get off the phone. And
Yeah.
us as people, we don't want the confrontation. What I really like about what you did was that it was simple. It's
Well, yeah.
simple. And a lot of times, especially people that are newer to sales, they will come up with things that are a little too complicated in terms of objection handling. And then that just tells the person that you're a sales agent. You're just there to sell them, right? Because we talk a lot when we're not being trustworthy, right? People that lie talk a lot. And so we're telling their subconscious that, and then that trickles down. And so I really liked how simple that was. Because again, you're just buying 20 more seconds. And it was very difficult to say no.
What I'm doing. And if you just commit to challenging that objection every single time, because I think that's also can get muddy, where people will say, well, this person was like heading into the doctor and like I heard people in the background and like they decide whether or not the objection is real or not. And I think that's a mistake. I think if you commit to the process 100% of the time, you will get more people that will give you 1 minute that turns into 5 minutes, that turns into 20 minutes, that turns into an application. But if you decide when to say it and when to not say it, you are practicing inconsistency. And
Yep.
practice, right? And practicing inconsistency leads to inconsistent results.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Do we want to flip that?
That's
And
absolutely
then you give me that objection. I'll show them how I would handle it.
yes.
Perfect. Ring, ring.
Yes. Hello.
Hey, Dana.
Who is this?
Hey, Dana. Yeah, this is just Cayden. I just had a second here to get back to you. It looks like you'd asked us to give you a call about possibly looking at life insurance. Were you looking for anything specific or just wanting to see what all was out there?
Oh, yeah. You know what? This is really not a good time. I'm just heading out the door to take my kids to
Oh,
school.
I apologize. Yeah, I was really just calling to see if you'd like already figured it out or if this is something you were even still looking for. Did you end up finding it or like were you still looking?
Yeah, I'm still shopping around, but yeah,
Were
can you
you
can you call me back in like an hour?
Yeah, let me get my calendar pulled up. I think I have a couple of appointments coming up. Were you looking for anything specific? Like, were you wanting to cover like funeral final expenses, or
Yeah,
were you wanting to
exactly.
leave a little bit more? Okay,
Just final
perfect.
expenses.
And then I would keep going.
And then boom, you're in discovery.
Yeah,
Perfect. Yeah, no,
no,
I
I'm in.
love that because you're acting like you are allowing me to get off the phone, and then you're asking me another discovery question to try
Yeah,
to be in control.
yeah, exactly. I'm just trying to take control, get past it, and get into the conversation. The objection's not completely gone, but like you were saying, usually it's a smokescreen.
Correct.
And so, like, a lot of people are like, oh, they get into their heads after they get past the objection. And I can't tell you, I'm sure you hear it all the time too, where then the agent is the one that brings it up. Hey, I know that you had to go. And so let's schedule an appointment. And it's like, hold on, they forgot about that. We're past that, and you hear that, right?
I do. Oh, all the time. Like they just felt so nervous about it that they were going to get I don't have time again that they then bring it up themselves and volunteer to get off the phone.
Yeah, it's hilarious. And then you never hear from that person again.
Self-sabotaging at its finest.
I don't actually, I wasn't planning on doing this, but this seems like a really good moment to give them a little uh, something that I think could help a lot of people here because the fact of the matter is you are going to have to book appointments sometimes.
Yeah.
Do you have any tie downs that you use?
Um, kind of. Yes. So, now tie downs while making the appointment to get them to commit or after I make the appointment. I want to clarify.
Like before or after, just whatever you do to get them to show up to the appointment?
Okay, I'll let you do any tie downs you do when you make the appointment because I do a lot of stuff after the appointment is made.
Oh, okay. Walk us through it.
Okay, so after the appointment is made, before I say goodbye, the first thing that I say is, now I'm going to send you a text message that
Cool.
confirms the date and time of our appointment. I need you to reply yes to that to lock it in. And so I get them to commit to me over the phone to commit that
Yep.
they're going to reply yes, and then I send the text message. And if they don't reply yes, then I'm going to, continue to, remind them and remind them. And sometimes I'll even send them like a video text message, like,
Okay.
"Hey, it's Dana. Just want to remind you of our call tomorrow at
Yep. Very
o'clock.
personalized.
I haven't gotten that yes to reply, so shoot me a quick yes." And if they don't ever reply yes, I am not calling them.
Cool. Yeah, you just stand your ground.
Well, and another thing, and I want to hear what you do to tie down appointments. One of my biggest pet peeves is that people like stop dialing 30 minutes before their appointment. Right? Because I don't want to miss the appointment. And then 9 times out of 10, if they haven't done anything to make sure that person is there, they don't answer the phone. They've just wasted all that time.
Yeah, you always have to keep dialing up to the appointment. And if you're on the phone with somebody else at your appointment time, just send that person a message that says, "Hey, I'm running behind," and stay with the person that's on the phone. I've
And
even
double
seen
or
people
triple check
end.
yourself at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. People are very understanding. Like if you are 20 minutes late, they don't care. Um,
Your tie downs.
what I like to do is at the end of the call, so we book in the time, right? They send them the invite. They got the invite. Then I'll just do something like this, like right before we get off. I'll say, "Oh, could you do me a big favor?" And they always say yes,
Mhm.
right? Um, I know that I know that this is a little silly, but like when people if people need to like cancel or reschedule their appointments, no big deal. Like life happens, we get it. It's like not the end of the world. But when people don't show up to their appointments without warning us, like that affects me, and like it hurts me, which is true, right?
Yep.
Uh, could you just do me a big favor? And if something does come up, like I totally get it. Could you just like shoot me a text or give me a call? That way I can reschedule it and it doesn't hurt me. And then
Mm,
they say yes. And I say, "Thank you so much. You wouldn't believe how just like rude some people are." There's even some people that will say yes and then they'll still do that. And it's like, it's absolutely crazy. So I really appreciate that. I'll send off that invite as soon as we get off the call. And then I'm going to text you to make sure that it came through. Just do me a favor and make sure that you respond so that I know that it did, like you did get the invite, because sometimes it'll go to spam.
So some of the things that I love that you did there is, instead of framing them into the person you want them to be, right, who buys
Mhm.
life insurance and protects their family, you're you're creating a frame of someone that they would not want to be, right?
Yes.
Someone that would, purposely do something to hurt you by not letting you know that they can't make the appointment. Because some people would actually still do that. And
Yeah.
so I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, it's a guilt frame.
Yeah.
That's where it comes from.
Course, there's a
And
name for it.
well, yeah, well, that's because that's the emotion that you're tapping into is guilt.
Hmm.
And so that's where it comes from. And I put it together, with the help of some of those people that I mentioned, but it comes from the fact that guilt is a very, very strong human feeling that we
Hmm.
all feel. And so by tapping into that, it's very, very it makes it hard for them not to show up to the appointment or at least warn you beforehand. You'll still have people that will cancel, right? But now you know it's a legitimate appointment or not a legitimate appointment,
Right.
right? Based off of if they cancel or not. And so it really helps a lot of show up rates. I've had people go from a 10% show up rate one week, implement that, change absolutely nothing, and go to a 75% show up rate the next week.
That's strong.
Yeah,
I'd
absolutely
love to get
crazy.
a 75% show up rate.
Yeah, that's with pretty good marketing. The marketing does matter, right? As much as people don't want to talk about it. And so, to kind of recap, guys, the intro, right? That's going to be the place that is going to give most people the biggest lift, right? Because you're going to end up talking to more people. And it's not necessarily about the words that you're using, right? It's about the certainty behind the words. And when we say certainty, it's not just about being quote unquote confident, right? You don't need to come off like an arrogant douchebag. It's more about being sure in what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Um, I
And when
know,
you do that, guess what happens? You don't have to make as many dials
like
because
we all want.
more conversations. And when you have more conversations, you actually start to like your job more because you're talking to people. I think, right? I think that what gets mundane and what causes burnout is all of the dials with nobody to talk to, right? And you
It's
just
interesting you bring that up because I
off.
wouldn't have, like, I forget that people don't like their job. Uh,
I
yeah,
I mean I know I love sales. I love telesales. It doesn't matter what we're selling, but it's all strategy. It's who's going to be stronger on the phone, you or your customer? And
yeah.
it's like a game to me.
Yeah, it's all a game. Life is one big game. And so focus on that intro. That's going to give you a much bigger return. Keep your when they have a concern in the intro, um, or if you want to call it an objection, I don't think it matters what you call it as long as you handle it well. Um, it's all just a matter of a game up here, right?
Mindset.
If
Yeah.
it helps you to call it a concern, call it a concern. If it doesn't matter to you and you call it like it doesn't matter, it's all up here, right?
Right.
But ultimately, what it's going to come down to is practice, right? And make sure that as you're practicing and you're figuring out that intro, the way you get that certainty is delivering it the same way every single time, right? That's going to give you that certainty. You're going to get more consistent, and then you're going to be able to actually tweak things because you won't be the variable. Now, the next checkpoint in the funnel that usually gives people a really big return, still not objection handling, even though that's the sexy thing that everybody wants us to talk about.
Okay.
Um, the next checkpoint, at least in as I've looked at data and I've helped a lot of people, the next checkpoint, especially for insurance, tends to be when it comes to getting the why.
Oh yeah.
Or, some people will call that problem awareness or discovery or whatever other cool fancy name that you've came up with it for. Um, it's all the same shit. Why do they want the insurance?
Yes.
Um,
Why are we on the phone?
exactly. Because if you don't get that, it's very hard to have urgency and you just end up being very commoditized. And that sounds like chargebacks waiting to happen. I know that we don't want to say the C word, but they happen to all of us, right? We all get the chargeback sometimes. And so the why tends to be that next check point in the funnel, right? Like if you're getting people past the intro and you're getting a lot of people past the intro, but for some reason they're just not closing at the end, usually the checkpoint that's being failed is the why.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that instead of reaching for how do I overcome, I want to think about it objection, you have to revisit, well, how much urgency was there to get this insurance in the first place? Or were you the one that was trying to convince them to get it?
Yes, yes, exactly. And the thing is they want it. You don't need to convince them. You
Yeah.
just have to figure out why they want it.
And to
Uh,
not be afraid, what are your thoughts on this, Cayden? To not be afraid of letting someone go if you can't get a solid why.
I think it depends on the agent. Um, but I also think that's the answer for a lot of sales things, uh, where there's not a black and white answer for that. Because somebody that's brand new,
Yeah.
I think if you give them that advice, they probably end up letting too many people go.
Oh.
But if you give somebody that's pretty good, but hanging on to conversations that they shouldn't be, then they probably need that advice. I know I needed that advice at one point. And the way that advice was phrased to me was you have to protect your energy,
Mhm.
right? And so there's sometimes where people I couldn't get the why and I was doing pretty well. But I would stay in there and loop around 5, 10 times to try to get the why, but it was draining for me.
And it was usually towards the end, right?
Yes, or
Yeah.
even like in the middle, you're just like looping, you have Frank on, and he's 85 years old and he's worked construction his whole life. He doesn't have a single emotion in his body and he's just like, give me the quotes, right? And like a lot of times that could be kind of draining. And sometimes you just have to let go of those people.
Yeah. The professional quote gatherers, we like to call them.
Yeah, they never make a lot of money.
Yeah. the
They never
professional
make.
quote gatherers. But I think that after there's a certain point where you have to figure out who is worth your time, so you
Yep.
protect your time.
So
And
how do you go through the why and start to get that?
I do it pretty early on. As soon as I get, permission to engage, I just start with a curiosity question, like what had you interested in getting this information in the first place? And you're usually going to get a surface level answer. Uh,
Yeah.
just getting older, just saw an ad, just popped up on my screen, just thought I'd check it out. And so the next level beyond that is feeling really comfortable. Challenging isn't the right word, like challenging them on their answer, but feeling really comfortable digging a little deeper.
Okay.
Besides the ad, or what was it about the ad? Or, but, besides getting older, what is it about your age that has you thinking that
Yep.
now's the right time to look at putting something into place? And I'm very, very careful with the words that I use. Um,
What do you mean?
very careful. So, what I just said was, so what about your age now has you thinking that you might want to look into getting something into place, or has you thinking you might want to look into this at this point? And I never say things like, well, what about your age has you thinking you're ready to buy today? As in, right? But
Yeah.
if I don't say I'm very careful with my words that I use, people will hear what I say and they'll interpret it into something like that. And that
That's
creates
pretty funny.
resistance.
Yeah, obviously.
But it's
Well, you
not
would
as
think it would be.
obvious as we think it is, Cayden, because I think there are people that will say, "Oh, so I just have to ask them why they want to buy today, and then we're good." And they flip it, and that's where that constant sales training has to happen to remind you that it's not just the digging deeper, it's the specific words that you use, and then of course, then even deeper how you say them.
And if you guys sometimes make the mistake of saying things like that and you want somebody to nicely let you down, Dana is a great fit to work with. Um, because
Nicely.
I will, yeah, I will not do that nicely. I will say, why did you say that? That was stupid. Like that was the dumbest shit I ever heard. Um,
Perfect.
you've been on my calls and I've said some stuff like that to my team. Um,
Yeah, those are pretty funny.
but it's all with good intentions. So I like that. It's basically you ask an open-ended question, like a why question. Why are they looking for the insurance? And then from there, if they give you, it sounds like you're listening for what I would call like a level two or a level three answer. Like you're at the surface level, which would be level one.
Mhm.
Ask open-ended question. Why are you looking? Level two would be like a personal driver. I'm assuming you would take that. Like if they said, "Oh, I want to look because I want to make sure my daughter doesn't have to pay for this."
Well,
I'm
level three would be why now?
Yeah, and level three would be like more into like identity would
Mm.
be my assumption. Like why now? Like yes, we want to cover the logistics, right? Which would be that level two. Like I have a logistical, I want to make sure my daughter doesn't have to pay for it. Level three would be like that why. And so it sounds like you're asking open-ended level one. If they go level two, level three, we take that, maybe probe deeper. But if they give us level one again, we basically ask why one more time, but reworded.
Yeah, you'd have to reword, and you have to really tread lightly because you're also trying to figure out what type of person do I have on the phone? Like, are they ready to be vulnerable, or do I have to
Hmm.
bob and weave a little bit and revisit? Um,
Yeah.
which I think is the problem with just getting a free downloadable script online. And one of the reasons that I have chosen for the longest time to not have my script downloadable, because you can't just follow a script and expect to get X results. You have to be coached on it and you have to understand when to maybe start with section three and then come back to section one, because not every single person is going to go from start to finish. In fact, a lot of them won't.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be flexible, particularly in the very beginning of the call. Like
Exactly.
you have to be flexible. And so I really like that though, open-ended question, and re-ask it. Like, okay, what was it about getting older that made you think that you should look into this? Right? I really like rewording that question. Um, it's funny because we both have been really successful, but we do it a little bit differently.
Okay, so what are
Um,
some of your first questions?
I like to keep it a little bit more controlled because it's easier for me.
Okay.
Um, and so I like to ask questions that seem open-ended, but are not as open-ended. Where I'm kind
Like
of
multiple choice, you're like leading the witness?
sometimes like binary questions sometimes, but usually to get into the why, what I want to do is I want to know who the beneficiary is before I ask a why question.
Okay.
So if they haven't already told me, I'll just right before the why question, I'll say, "Oh, I almost forgot. Who would be like the beneficiary on this? Like, who are you looking to protect?"
Hmm.
Oh, this person. Okay. And then I like to buy myself some time because I do the medical questions early. I know you don't do that, but I usually do. I haven't always, but I like that flow better. And I'll say, okay, it'll take a minute for it to load here. I was curious, like, did something happen recently, or like like, had you looking for life insurance in the first place? And then basically, it really doesn't matter what answer they give me, level one, level two, level three. It's obviously better the deeper they go. Um, but I don't particularly care. I usually follow that up with a binary question. And I say, because I already have the beneficiary. So
Yeah.
I'll say, so is it more so one of those things where, like Susie could cover things on her own and you just don't want her to? Or is it more so one of those things where, like, if something happened now, it would put her in a, like, like a tough spot financially?
Okay. And what happens if they say Susie can, but I just don't want her to?
Yeah, I don't care because I'm going to go right to identity anyways.
Okay. Are we ready
Because
for that yet?
I'm gonna make the whole conversation about identity regardless. And so both answers take me to identity.
Okay. Like who are
Um,
they becoming by making?
Yeah, like I'm going to start talking about their identity. And so whether they say, if they're like, yeah, it would put her in a bad spot financially, or if they say, yeah, she could cover it, like she's a well-established doctor and lawyer. She's basically a billionaire, like they do, you know.
Yeah.
Um, she's basically a billionaire. I just want to make sure she doesn't have to cover this $20,000. Um, and so from there, what I do is I bridge it into identity. Now, the reason I like identity is it makes it easy for me. And the
Mhm.
way I look at it is everybody gets insurance because of identity.
Mhm.
Like it's always about identity. So it's easy for me. The trap that's easy to fall into with the way I do it is if you're not good at identity and making it seem conversational, it can get weird quick. Like identity is something that can get weird if you're not good at it.
I can see that.
And so let's say they say, like, she could cover it. I just don't want her to have to do that. Like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. We see it all the time. Um, it's like, sounds like it's just who you are as a parent. You probably have always been that way. And like, I just downplay it. Like, it's really subtle, right? And usually they'll be like, yeah, exactly. And so it's pretty, I'm like, yeah, it just sounds like you've always been that way. It's probably just like who you are as a parent and as a person. And they're like, yes. And I'll say, it's crazy. I talk to a lot of people and like, and I'll slow down a little bit. Like, I mean, it's not that they're bad people or anything. Like, I'm not saying they're bad people. It's just, some people, especially where Susie's in a position where she could cover it herself, they just look at it and they're like, I took care of you while you were young. I'm on a fixed income now. I don't want to put my own money towards this. Like, you cover it. Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean. We all know somebody like that.
Do they ever get when you're trying to teach someone how to really master identity and they try to say it on a phone call, do you ever hear the prospect getting confused?
The prospect usually doesn't get confused, but what will happen is it will land flat. And
Mm,
the prospect will say, yes, I know what you mean.
hmm. Hmm.
Um,
They won't
the
contribute.
the cool thing about that is that even if it does land flat, you've created enough social context that you can just say, "Can I ask, like, how come this is so important to you?" And it's not a weird question because you just told them some people don't give a shit.
Right.
And so now I've created enough social context that I can very directly ask, "Why is this important to you?" Um, but generally, people don't get super confused. I could see people getting confused if there wasn't like you were just talking about, if there wasn't training involved with the script,
Yeah.
right? But part of our training, I'm very big on like just follow the script for a certain amount of time. I don't want you to follow the script forever, but I want you to follow the script for a set amount of activity. Um,
And
don't get too crazy.
I think not mastering the getting to the why, no matter which direction you go, whether you do it the way I have it listed or the way you have it, the way you listed, is I think that a lot of agents don't commit to mastering a process and then they get sucked into just doing what the client says. And the example I'm leading to here is just on Slack the other day, one of the
Yep.
agents, right, got stuck in completely losing track of the sales process and said, this person has X condition and I either have to get this carrier or I have to offer lower coverage and otherwise she's not going to do it. You know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of agents on here that can relate to feeling like their client is not going to get the insurance unless they can get a level coverage or the amount of coverage that they want within a certain budget, and you've literally relinquished all of the control to them. Like your paycheck is completely reliant on whether or not you can get it done in the parameters that your client has set for you. Do you remember how I responded?
I don't remember actually.
Okay, I'm trying to remember how I responded. I said something to the effect of, like, let's take it a step back, right? We have to revisit why she wanted this in the first place. What is the alternative of not being able to get the outcome that they want and being able to, like, think about the stakes and
Yep.
and you getting that control back to help your client think about things in another way. Like, well, what if you can't get this? Are you open to looking at things from a different perspective instead of being that order taker that says, okay, I'm going to go do what you've asked me to do and I'm going to get it done for you. Like, I think that mentality in general is a mistake where you just let the client control everything and you've lost control of helping them see things in a different way. And
Well,
in
it creates a weird dynamic. But it kind of comes back to what we were saying at the very beginning of certainty, right? Like if the prospect is taking control of the conversation like that, then what that shows is that they're more certain than the agent. And the person who is more certain will persuade the other person. And so if the prospect is more certain and they have call control, very, very difficult, even if you're having a pleasant conversation, it's going to be very difficult to persuade that person, just like we saw that day. And once you lose control, it's hard to gain it. It's kind of like if we have a friend that we were friend with when like we've been friends forever and then they become a doctor, right? There's very few of us that actually take their advice as literal as what their patients do,
Mm,
right? Because we knew them before they were a doctor, right? We've seen them do the dumb things, whereas their patients just know the doctor.
right.
And so it's very hard to gain that control back. Um, and once the prospect is more certain than you, getting the why also becomes a lot harder.
Should we move down to common failure points? Since,
Yes, we're going to move down to common failure points. We're definitely going to go a couple minutes over,
yeah,
um, like for sure, but we're going to wrap it up here in about 10, 15 minutes. And so just to recap that why section, either way, what a common question that I get is how do I know that I've got a big enough why? Right? And it sounds like we're both looking for the same thing. We're getting it in different ways, but
yeah,
there's multiple ways to skin a cat. But ultimately, how do you know you got enough? When you have personal drivers and identity, right? Like what's really driving it or like from an identity level, what's really driving it? You're listening for those personal drivers, those identity. And either way, we both start the same way, which is why is like what made this so important in the first place. That opens up the door and then we continue throughout it, probe, clarify, right, and move through it.
yeah.
And so when we come into the common failure points, I know I feel pretty passionately about this one, but part of the reason I feel so passionate about it is because I felt like I was pitched the dream when I got into insurance. And you and I have actually talked about this quite a bit. That's been one of my biggest struggles going through insurance is I'm very trusting,
Mm,
and I always give people the benefit of the doubt. And so when I've been recruited in the past, I believe everything they say. and I end up in vehicles that I thought were Ferraris that are actually Hondas. Um, and I don't even feel like I need a Ferrari, but come on, at least give me a Lexus, baby. Um, I'm
And
tired of
even
the Civic.
you, Cayden Sanchez, master of sales, can't make a Ferrari out of a Honda, is what you're saying? Like it's just impossible? Because what I'm trying to dissect there,
Yep.
because I'm playing devil's advocate, is even if you were recruited into an opportunity that you thought was something different, would it be impossible
It's
to?
not impossible.
Okay.
I think that most of the places I've been recruited, to be clear, I don't think that they are bad vehicles as a whole. They
Hmm.
didn't fit what I was looking for. And so it was more about my expectations not aligning. And then once I realized what it was, I said, okay, am I willing to change my expectations?
Hmm.
Or should I just get out of the car and get into a new one?
Yeah.
Because that's where I think it comes down to. And I see a lot of people that they don't change their expectations, but they stay in the same car. Um, and I've been blessed enough that I have income from other industries. And so I've been able to um, have a little bit more flexibility as I've decided where I want to be long term with insurance, right? And I think it's given me that flexibility. But you bring up a really good point, because most of the places that I didn't necessarily like being at were not about the place and the opportunity for me. I think I could have maximized them. The way I've always looked at it is I wanted to be at a place that gave me a good opportunity for duplication.
Hmm.
Because very transparently, that's my end goal. I want to build a big team, right? And so I've always wanted somewhere that gave me the best opportunity for duplication. And part of it was also just timing, right? You could be in a great opportunity at the wrong time, and that also doesn't align, you know? And so part of it was that I had to grow in my own journey for
Yeah.
the timing to make sense. But what are some of the things that you see as a common failure point, like for somebody that, let's say, they're newer to insurance, maybe they're in a broker model already,
Okay.
buying their own leads, um, and they're struggling, right? Maybe they're profitable, but slightly, making 2, 3 grand a month, or maybe they're losing a little bit of money. It's unpredictable.
Right. Yeah, there's so many different rabbit holes you can go through with this question. But in general, if you are brand new to insurance as a broker, a lot of it is mindset because you are paying your tuition to learn the craft of sales and not
Telesales.
sell life insurance, but telesales and also just the art of a process to get someone to change their situation. And so paying for leads, you also have to think about it as your tuition to
Yep.
learn how to master what we do. And you may not get an ROI right away, even if you are with the absolute best IMO, the best sales trainers, you still have to be the one to implement what you've learned. And I can't tell you how long that's going to take.
Yep.
Um, I can also say that sometimes people get into the business not realizing that they are starting their own business. They think they're just have a sales job. And
Yes.
and if you look at this as having a sales job, then maybe being a broker, being a business owner is not the right vehicle for you, right?
And
Maybe,
maybe not right now. Maybe it will be in the
like you said,
future.
the timing, right? Maybe they need a free lead, reduced commission model so that that tuition isn't like their rent money and they're
Yep.
stressed out by not getting an ROI. So depending on where you're at emotionally, mentally, financially, kind of determines the path that you should start in. But I would say that also people who decide to broker, they don't buy enough leads. And I hate to be the agency owner that says buy more leads because that's like the mantra that
The
everybody
cliche. Yep.
a cliche, but there is something called the law of large numbers. There isn't something called the law of small numbers. And
No.
so living in lead abundance is really important to see success. In John Wetmore's breakout session at 8%, where we were just at, he tells agents to front load themselves. So where I'm saying, you know, spend 1,000 a week on leads, he's like, shit, you should spend 3 to 4,000 a week on
Yeah.
leads and front load yourself into success. And so I think that globally, like as a broker, you can't be afraid to spend money. And if that
Yeah.
is a fear of yours, then maybe being a broker isn't the right time.
Even if it's not a fear of yours, but you just don't have the money yet, you
True.
know? I've seen a lot of people that come into it, and I love the way you just put that. I think that that's one of the biggest things that we agree on, um, is that if you're looking for a sales job, and like being a broker is usually not a good fit because you're not you have to be ready to start a business. And so if you're looking for another job, that's usually not a good fit. The people who do the best are the ones who recognize that it is a business. And maybe you want to start a business, but you just don't have the foundation right now to start the business. I think that's why you had the team that was free leads, is
Mhm.
because you saw that hole in the market
Yes.
and you said, yes, I should have this. That's the same reason why I have my fitness team. And like we've talked about that, is there's a lot of people that I talk to that I think I love their goals. I love the journey that they're headed on. A lot of times it reminds me of myself, right? And I'm like, okay, I know for me, if I could go backwards in time, I probably, when I started being a broker, I wasn't ready to be a business owner. I needed a sales job,
Mhm.
but I just didn't know what I didn't know, and luckily I made it through it. But I think it could have been a lot easier if I would have learned from other people's mistakes. I just had to make them on my own, and that's really why I have the team at Committed Coaches selling supplements and nutrition programs, is because it gives us a cleaner ascension pathway for somebody that maybe is newer that needs to get the reps and just learn telesales, because it's very hard to learn telesales at the same time as learning how to be a business owner.
I agree. That's a lot to do at once.
And then, but at the same time, we don't want all of our people going into Committed Coaches, because really the end goal for us is to have a big insurance team,
Yeah.
right? And like I fully believe in insurance, and I want to dominate the industry. I think we are going to dominate the industry together, no doubt about it. Um, it's just about finding the right people that are ready to run a business in insurance, right? And um, I think that a lot of people end up getting pitched it like it's a sales job. And then they get in and they realize that the learning curve is really fucking expensive when you're buying your own leads. It's not like, it's like, oh, damn, when I was dialing, I didn't realize that somebody had to pay for those leads. Uh,
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. That's funny because I don't think that they realize that too. They just get free leads and they don't think about who had to pay for them.
yeah, somebody's gotta pay for them. I talk to people all the time that don't realize that. Um, I think another common failure point you already brought up, which was not doing enough activity.
Yeah.
Telesales is extremely difficult. Like we all want to play the skills game. We all want to play the quality game and not the numbers game. But I am personally a firm believer that if you want to play the quality game, you want to play the skills game, the fastest way there is the numbers game.
You have to know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers in this business, then it's a guessing game. And the best way to understand what your numbers are is you simply have to track them for at least 30 days. I mean, 2 weeks minimum, but I think 30 days to be able to track your dials, your pickups to presentations, your presentations to quotes, your quotes to sales, so that when you take a step back and you look at everything you've done over a 30-day period, you can say, oh, okay, so if I make this many dials, this is about how many people are going to pick up the phone. I had this many people pick up the phone this month, and I had 50% of them, which by the way should be your goal, 50% pick up to conversation. So I know
Yep.
that I need this many people to pick up the phone so that I can have this many presentations. And then you can look at a whole month and say, well, I had a 30% close rate this month. So how many people do I need to talk to if I want to sell
Yep.
20 policies this month? Well, you just do the math and back into it based on what your numbers are. That is how you control your day. So you need to know,
Yes.
right? This is how many dials I have to make. This is how many hours of talk time I have to have. If I can't make this many dials, this is how many people have to pick up the phone. This is how many people I have to present to so that I can get this many sales. And once you've mastered the activity, then we can
Yep.
work on leveling up what you're doing on the phone so that you can get what Cayden and I have, which is I mean, I don't know the last time you tracked it, but I'm still maintaining almost a 70% close rate.
Yeah, I haven't tracked it in quite a while. Um, but
But the numbers are
I
everything.
also don't, I think that close rate is an interesting number because as I've gotten more experience in sales, I've seen more and more people like you can just manipulate your close rate so easily.
How
And
do
so
you track your what
what
to
what
track?
I want to look at is what's your cost per acquisition,
Okay, obviously,
your
always
average
less than
commission.
200.
Yeah, depending on product.
Okay.
Final expense, yeah, if you're more than 200 on final expense, you're struggling.
Yes.
For sure. But just I think your cost per acquisition will tell you a lot, and then your close rate per batch of leads. Like who gives a shit how many people you present to and close? Because if you buy 100 leads and you only present to one and close one, you have a 100% close rate. But if I go buy the same 100 leads and I present to 20 of them and close five, I have a 20% close rate or 25. I don't know. Math it, close enough. 20, 25, less than 100, baby.
Less than
Uh,
100.
but I've made more money, right? And so it's like how many, what's your lead to close?
Yes.
Or if you happen to find yourself in like an inbound environment, what's your schedule to close?
Hmm.
Right? Like on the inbound teams that I run, everybody wants to talk about their close rate, and I'm like, I don't care about that. What's your inbound? What's your schedule to close? Because if I have rep number one that I give 10 calls to, and five no show, and five show up, but they close three of them, that's a pretty good close rate, 5 out of 3. But if I have another rep that gets all 10 to show up, and they have a lower close rate, but all 10 show up, I want the schedule to close. I
For
want
sure.
the lead to close. Um, and so I think those can be dangerous metrics for sometimes for reps to look at because it's so easy to manipulate them. And human nature will have us manipulating them for our own ego because we
Mm,
all want this high close rate. And so we accidentally will get off the phone with the wrong people, right? And when we probably should have presented to that person, but like internally we're trying to protect our close rate. And so I think it's good to focus on money. How do we make more money? Right? That's ultimately what all the data has to track back to is how do we make more money? And if you guys struggle with this, hopefully you're in an environment where somebody is teaching you this and helping you track it. Because if you're trying to figure out how to track it all on your own, a lot of times it can be pretty overwhelming and fairly difficult. Um, if you're super hard-headed and you love the leader that you have, even though they're not helping you track it, get on there, use our good friend ChatGPT. But if you would like leadership that helps you guys with this stuff and teaches you about this stuff, then we're hiring
cool.
all
So
of
how do
us.
people make more money with you, Cayden?
So, how people make more money with us? I believe we are going to drop a link in the Q&A panel. Uh, Whitney, you guys just saw those two links that got dropped. If you guys are in a place where you don't feel like maybe you're not ready to be a business owner, or maybe even you're not sure, that's that committed coaches opportunity call there that you see there. Fill that out. There's an opportunity to book in if you guys want to learn more. That is for my nutrition and supplement team. We use that to help get you trained up, getting you making some money, where we can train you and then transition back to insurance when you're a little bit more ready to be a business owner. And if you're already doing well in insurance, or if you just love insurance and um, you want to learn more about what we're doing in Sniper Insurance, there is a link for that as well. And if you guys hated me and you'd rather work directly for Dana, do you have a link, Dana?
I mean, by working with you, they are going to automatically work with me anyways,
Ooh,
right?
baby.
So
Ooh,
you get
baby.
both of us.
Ooh,
Can't
baby.
have one without the other.
And I have one more shameless plug, everybody. This is completely separate. Dana doesn't even know I'm going to do this. Um, but my daughter is doing a school fundraiser. And I recorded a little video with her. I want everybody to feel no pressure, but if you got value out of this and you want to give back to me in some way, I guess this has nothing to do with Dana, but this is for my daughter.
Pulling at
She
the heartstrings.
I'm trying to pull out some heartstrings for my little girl because she's pulling on. She got me wrapped around her finger.
Oh
Uh,
boy.
I've only got one girl. I got three boys, one girl, and so you guys already know. But everybody watch this video if you guys want to support and help out. Here, let me hit play. Maybe it has an annotate button, so I can't hit play.
You can't hit play?
Oh, here we go. We're closer. I don't want to annotate. I promise I've done this before, everybody. Here we go. What's up, everybody? I'm here with my daughter. Say what's up.
What's up?
Her school is doing a fundraising competition. She has to sell like 50 gift cards to win. Why is your school doing a fundraiser?
Because we're getting a new building and we can't get without a fundraiser.
Yep, they're getting a new building. So to get the building and to fund the building, we're doing this fundraiser. So if you want to support us and if you like supporting local businesses, every little bit helps. And if they're in Utah, what do they get that we're selling?
They get
Where do we have gift
ice
cards
cream
to?
place and Bountiful
Yep, Handles Ice Cream and Bountiful. We have gift cards there. And where else?
or Marco's Pizza.
Or Marco's Pizza. So everybody, every little bit helps. But if you're local, just DM me for details about the gift card. Thanks. Say thank you. I'm a little biased, but I think she is so cute. And so her school, she goes to a private school. It's a small business. This is their first building that is actually not in somebody's house. So if you guys want to contribute, they are doing a fundraising competition. I'm putting the link in the chat. It is just Venmo. You guys can look it up. And if you are in Utah, that is the perfect opportunity, I guess, to force me to meet you. Because I will have to drop off your gift card. Uh, um, I always get people that are like, "Hey, can we go out to lunch?" Well, there you go. There you go. There's the end around. Um,
Well, I hope you guys got value from this today. I would love to do another one again, maybe in a month.
yes, we will definitely be doing another one. We'll keep everybody posted. And the next one, we should have another special guest on here with us.
All right. We already had some people leave, so they're not going to know who the special guest is going to be for next time.
But the next one, we will get Matt Ryder on here with us, who is my business partner in Sniper Insurance. We wanted to have him on this one. We just did not coordinate the time very well, and it is currently 4 a.m. in Australia. And so he is not getting on at 4 a.m. if you guys know Matt. But Matt will be on the next one. And so we're looking forward to delivering a lot more of these. And there will be a recording. I don't think we're going to send it out. I think I'm just going to post it on my YouTube, and I don't know if Dana's going to post it on her YouTube or not.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. Please send
there
it
you
to me.
go.
It'll be on both.
You, it'll be on both YouTubes, not in your email.
Not in your email. It'll be on YouTube. So subscribe to both of us. What's your YouTube channel? I don't even know if I'm subscribed.
It's just Cayden Sanchez. I'm just barely getting the old YouTube going.
Okay. And I'm
Is
at Final Expense Telesales if you guys want to subscribe to mine. Let me see.
is there any last thing that you want to leave them with? Any last pieces of value or anything that we went over that you think is the most important thing?
The most important thing, man, I would just say that if you're going to do life insurance as your career, to align yourself with people that have all the arrows in their back and not only care about you as a number and what you can do for us as far as like AP goes, but also that really care about you as a person and a human and someone that wants to help leave you better than where they found you. And I think that the people that we have here and the culture that we're creating, we really do care an awful lot about you as a person. And
Probably too much.
probably too much to a fault. Yes. And but I think
Dana for sure.
it sounds like I need therapy for that.
No, I'm just
But
kidding.
you'll definitely feel like you are part of something bigger than yourself and not just a number. And I think that's really important because what we do every day, it's a grind and it's hard. And why not do hard with people that care?
Yeah, have some fun with it. And I couldn't agree more. I think that's it's one of the best, like one of the main things that brought us together. Um, and I think you have to have people that are looking out for your best intentions that want you to win. And what I tell all of the people that I work with all the time is my goal in people working with me is to make you so good that you don't need me, that you could leave and go anywhere, like anybody would recruit you, but you choose to stay with me.
Mm, I
And
love that.
sometimes they leave. Sometimes they do get good and they leave, but that's okay, right? Because the right ones stay. And so that's always the goal, is to put people just in the best path to succeed and hit your goals. So hopefully you guys got some value out of this, and we will see you on the next one.
All right. Bye, guys.